All right, gang. Today we're reacting to how this guy trains strength for jujitsu. Jiu-jitsu. And my credentials are I'm a blue belt. So let's see what we get here.
What is going on, guys? Coach Joe. In this video, we're going to be talking about my favorite exercises for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how I would train for strength, specifically when it comes to Brazilian.
Now, before we get into this video, my opinion already is that you don't need to really train. I don't know what he's going to show, but you don't really need to do BJJ specific movements. Both things are more powerful in their own right. So, you don't really need to be like, if you're training weighted shrimp outs, that's pretty gay. So let's see.
Jiu-Jitsu. So let's get to it. All right, guys, what is going on? Coach Joe here at the Lions Den, located in
pretty
Hatfield,
jacked,
PA,
so.
right off of Route 309. So if you're ever in the area, come check out the
got the
gym.
credentials.
We love when we get visitors. So what I get asked all the time is, one, do you still do BJJ? And the answer is yes. I'll be doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu till the day that I die. It all depends on my strongman schedule, though. So I do have a competition coming up for strongman. So right now, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is probably just going to be 1 to 2 days per week at most, while I focus on the strongman comp. And then once the strongman comp is over, I'll increase that frequency just because I need to put my main focus into my strongman training, which that could be another video that I make down the road on how I manage to balance the strength training, the conditioning, and the jiu-jitsu. All
Strength and jiu-jitsu. For me, it's not that hard to balance. I do a 30-minute workout and then do jiu-jitsu the same day. It's really not that
together.
hard.
But in this video,
But
getting
this
right
guy's
to the point,
training
we're going to
for
be
a
talking about
strongman.
how I would train for strength when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I kind of break it up into some categories because there are so many exercises, but I'm going to give you guys the basis of which ones I would probably use the most. All right, so breaking up with the first category, I'm going to go with anything that falls under push, okay? So we're thinking any of the muscles that we're pushing with. So the first thing,
Again, I feel like you should just do general fitness, and it's going to help you out in
it
jiu-jitsu.
stands out for me is going to be some sort of bench press variation. Now, if people have bad shoulders or maybe their wrists or anything are banged up from jiu-jitsu, I would probably put them on a Swiss bar or a football bar or maybe a multi-grip bar just to play around with the different grips, and it maybe helps with
Use dumbbells to avoid shoulder pain.
any shoulder problems that they have. But I am a fan of bench pressing or benching variations for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Typically for me, I probably would do either a close grip bench or a multi-grip bar bench or Swiss bar. And then I would also probably do a lot of floor pressing and benching just because
strong.
you do find yourself on the ground in that same position where you're
wonder
starting
how
with your triceps on the
cannot
ground and
be
you're pushing
flexible.
somebody off or an opponent off. So it just seems like it would transfer over to the sport a little bit better and really developing the triceps.
It's also interesting how his tattoo stops not at the
in that
wrist.
range of motion. When it comes to the shoulders with pressing,
I don't really
basically
like it,
I
but
still would
this
like
is a cool guy, not gonna lie.
overhead press. But I am a huge fan of push pressing. So I do like
Strong
push pressing. I
fucker.
think it's a little bit more athletic than a typical strict press, and it's probably going to be a little bit more practical for the sport of jiu-jitsu because it is a moving sport. You know, when you look at takedowns or pushing people off of you, it's always moving and it's very dynamic. So the push
could
press
agree
would be
with
a little
that.
bit more in favor for me just because it's a more dynamic of a lift. All right, so the second category of movements is going to be pull variations. So we're going to just answer the question that I get asked all the time is, should Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes be doing deadlifts? And to be honest with you, I think deadlifts are fine for BJJ athletes. However, I do think that trap bar deadlifts are just easier for people to grasp, understand, and get ready to work with. So for me as a coach, I think I would probably...
Regular deadlifts are just so dangerous. It's so easy to hurt your back, but they are great for strength and just building up your lower back, which is kind of gets fucked up in jiu-jitsu. So this is good.
gear them more towards trap bar deadlifts. However, I think there are tons of different deadlift variations that can be used. I think conventional deadlifts are fine, but just for the sake of keeping it simple, I would probably use trap bar deadlifts. One other nice little perk is if you have a reverse hyper, you can use that to also strengthen the same muscles that are used in deadlifts. If you have a back tweak going on or you're just trying to minimize fatigue, a reverse hyper will strengthen the movements that a deadlift will without having.
Let's see. Most replayed. Okay, let's see.
And the nice thing is you can play with a bunch of different ones to kind of see which ones you like and don't like. But I think if I was doing BJJ, I would be doing some sort of row variations. And I have a whole video on row variations you can check out right here. Next category is going to be squat variations and lower body exercises. So when it comes to BJJ, since they don't have to have a certain squat to perform for a competition because they can do whatever they want, I'm just in favor of whatever the athlete can do comfortably and they enjoy as their squat. So an SSB is a really easy one just because it helps anybody who has any shoulder problems and it's more of a comfortable and simple squat to get into. I'm also a big fan of box squats just because it allows them to squat. Say they're having some issues with mobility for whatever reason, they can easily squat to a box and allows them to work those muscles, be explosive out of the hole. So I like doing that. Now, if they want a high bar or low bar squat, that's totally fine too. It really doesn't matter much to me, but the main fact is finding them a squat variation that they can continue to use that's going to only enhance the BJJ game and still allow them to train to the best of their ability. So on top of those squat exercises, something else I really like if you have access to would be a belt squat. So that is something that's going to be just like the reverse hyper and take off load from the spine, but allow you to put out
I don't even think I've actually used one of these, but I want to use
power
one of these
output
so bad.
In your training.
That looks like an awesome
work the
machine
legs.
to
If you
use.
have one of those, kudos. Get on one, and that would be a great variation to help strengthen the legs.
Back
now,
like
add on top of all
squats.
those exercises, I really feel like lunge variations are great for
I think he's spot on with all the
BJJ
leg stuff.
athletes, as well as some single leg work. So single leg split squats,
I do all
etc.
the
So
leg
if you're going
stuff
for a
that he's
takedown
talking
or trying
about.
to pass somebody's guard, just strengthening your legs as much as possible is going to be fantastic, and those variations help mimic that in practical use. The next category is going to be carries. I'm a huge fan of carries. So if you guys have farmer handles or can do farmer walks, I would really recommend that just for building the traps, upper back, the legs, and grip strength as well.
I know he didn't spend much time on it, but that's
sandbag
probably
carries,
the least effective
there's overhead
thing
carries, there's single arm carries, you name it, but getting some sort of carry work in is just going to be great and translate to the mat really well.
But I think that could help
would be rotational work. So since jiu-jitsu is so dynamic and you're rolling around, okay, you're going to be doing tons of different rotational movements. So implementing that in your training is only going to make you stronger, especially if you're trying to do takedowns, right, or you're fighting somebody standing up. You want to be able to have really strong rotational force and power. So I like doing med ball tosses, rotational ball slams, or even using a landmine and doing different landmine exercises.
I never do any of this shit, so
whole video on landmines.
I'm also not as strong as this
explosive
guy,
work,
so.
rotational work, and I'll put that link right up here, so check that out. But I think those exercises will really help with the rotational game and strength. Just as a side.
So my overall review on this guy here, I think if you just work out, it's gonna make you better at BJJ. So I don't know. Just work out. You don't have to do anything. If you're a complete noob, I think this would help you. But in general, just working out by itself, you don't have to do anything BJJ specific. It's going to help you out a lot. But I think overall, he's pretty much right. And he's a lot bigger than me, so. It's because he's on steroids, that's why. Now, this is a great guy, though. He seems awesome. Strong as fuck. He's training for a strongman, and he's doing jiu-jitsu and lifting. That's wild. Kudos to this guy. Thanks for letting me watch your video. Just work out, guys. That's the main point of the video, all right? Go work out. Makes you better at everything.